By using scent as a medium for artistic creation and expression, Kaya's cross-disciplinary projects seek to deepen the emotional and kinesthetic experience of art over a range of creative practices. With over 15 years experience as a creative director working in the fields of fashion, art, beauty, and publishing, Kaya is the founder and creative director of Folie À Plusieurs. My French is terrible. I hope that was clear. In 2013, the first collection under Folie À Plusieurs evolved from La Cinéma Olfactif, an ongoing film program developed exclusively for the Soho House Group cinemas in Berlin, London, New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. In collaboration with the perfumer Mark Buxton, over the next 5 years, he would develop 20 unique fragrances in response to specific moments in contemporary and cult classic films, including The Lobster, La Haine, Mood Indigo, Love Exposure, The Virgin Suicides, Enter the Void, The Duke of Burgundy, Blow Up Funeral Parade of Roses, Holy Motors, and La Grande Bellezza. By the way, I have to say, Love Exposure is one of my favorite films. I watched it like 10 times until this year that I couldn't take it anymore. I watched it again and I was like, no, I can do this again.
You are amazing because that is a very long film. That's like 3 hours.
It's 3 hours and it's
Your
very
human experience, that is literally 3 to 4 hours of your human experience. It's a long film.
It is.
I'm happy you love it because I love Sian Sono. You had amazing speakers today, and it only kind of reinforces what I'm about to talk about. And I would like to thank Clara and everybody for the opportunity to explore some ideas, because ultimately I don't know anything. You know, I'm just, it's just a playground for me. And I'm still trying to figure shit out, but all together, we're figuring this shit out together. So, which is lovely. And I want to really thank you guys for keeping the conversation going, and the speakers for keeping it interesting enough for me to want to do this business. All right, how do we expand the aromatic imagination of our audiences? How do we break the societal biases around fragrance? And this is important because once we break the societal biases around fragrance, we can move fragrance from a commodity of attraction to a tool of expansion. And I've been through so many different things, different phases with Folie, and one thing I always return back to is that it's about serving people and using scent as a medium that they can kind of a bridge that they can reach somewhere else. Now, there's different ways in which we can approach this, but I'm going to focus on two, actually three, which is scent articulation, scent visualization, and scent inspiration. It's weird doing this talk online because I can't see the audience's face or anything, but I'm going to try to imagine their faces and we'll do this together. Now, if you allow me, it's Friday, so let's have a little bit of fun. Imagine smoke blowing through a hole of an apple on a black and white photograph on the waves of an ocean on a clear day. So I'm going to repeat. Smoke blowing through an apple on a black and white photograph, moving on the waves on a clear day. So you can open your eyes now. Now, with that description, that's an actual perfume description. And what I would like to ask about that description to the audience is, when you heard that, did you feel that you were entering into a dream? Or did you feel that a space was being opened for your imagination to inhabit? And ultimately, that's what we do in perfumery or scent creation and scent makers and things like that. We summon feelings. We summon feelings for the audience. And we create a space for their imagination to play. Now, I learned this many years ago, actually. My official evaluator was a good friend of mine who's an art director and a photographer, James from Sweden. And we would meet up for some Negronis at a bar in Williamsburg. And I'll share with him what I'm working on. I'll say, listen, these are the fragrances that I'm working on. And what feeling do you get from these fragrances? And he would be like, well, this is a shop painted pink with blue erasers, or this is a French young lady in North Africa. Another one is maybe a gin and tonic in a hot day in Barcelona. And at that point, when I heard those descriptions and I thought about the actual descriptions for the fragrances, I was like, wow. I was using the fragrance descriptions given from the perfumers that I collaborate with, and then listing a whole bunch of raw materials. But then at that point, I realized that if a person read these ingredients, they would not connect with the story. They would not get a visual. But as simple as these descriptions sound, as soon as my friend James told me this, I was like, yes, I saw it. And not only that, it created enough space for me to add my own emotional texture to this story. And from that point, I always use that process. Like he credits me for introducing him to the Negroni, but I credit him for just changing the way that I speak about perfumery. And this is important because ultimately in perfumery, and I would hope that everybody has the same feelings, is that we want to create an inclusive environment, not exclusive. I know niche is niche and luxury perfumery is luxury perfumery, but ultimately, if there's a young kid that's interested in fragrance and he wants to connect to a perfume and then he sees a list of a bunch of raw materials, and he doesn't know what these raw materials smell like. He doesn't come from the country or whatever. You can provide him with a simple description like smoke blowing through an apple, and it immediately provides a visual cue in his imagination. And he's more likely to arrive at an olfactive impression, right? So if you allow me one more time, please close your eyes. Imagine that same description. I come to you and I tell you, smoke blowing through an apple on a black and white photograph on the ocean waves on a clear day. Now, think about how you would articulate the visual impression of that description. Would you use photography? Would you use collage? Would you use painting? Would you use illustration? Think about the colors, think about the other elements that you would add in. Now, you can open your eyes. Imagine if I show you a picture of a bottle with an apple and a few raw materials. Is that what you imagined? How many of you imagined that? I can't see the audience, but I don't think many. All right, so imagine if I showed you another picture with a bottle and a beautiful ocean. Is that the image that you envisioned? Maybe not. Maybe you envisioned apple almost levitating above a calm ocean. Maybe there was salt sprinkled on it to represent the saltiness of the ocean. It could be an ocean in Corsica, it could be wherever. We all have our different environments that we would put that apple, put that ocean. And for this, I find really interesting when it comes to the visualization of scent, because we've been using the bottle as a centerpiece in fragrance for many, many years in advertising. And the audience has been accustomed to it, and the brands just use it as a system. We use the bottle as the centerpiece, we sprinkle some raw materials around it, or we put it in an emotional landscape. But if you think about what I told you with apple and smoke going through it over an ocean, you're kind of entering into a fantasy, you know? You're into a dream. You go out to your apartment and you see this ad and you see this bottle with an apple or whatever. It almost breaks this dream for you. It almost breaks this space that I've created for you. And I think it's a challenge for many perfumers. It's not just a challenge for me, because for me, I've with my own brand, I've tried to not include any bottles in my advertising. I try so hard not to even post a bottle on my Instagram, you know, because it's like, okay, I have this new fragrance. How many bottles should I post of the same fragrance, you know, and different ways? And does it really keep that dream going? For example, I give you an example of a fragrance. It's the emotion or the description for it is burnt tracks drawn on concrete pavement. That's La Haine, yeah. And then there's the new fragrance from Haruki Murakami, which is a spirit world unlocked through a stone. It almost feels like I'm not doing the fragrance justice when I'm just posting beautiful bottles. And as a group, as a community, I would love that we would figure this out together, because I feel that ultimately our goal is to expand people through fragrance, not to just sell a product. We want to kind of serve them. And that's how we use scent, to serve them. If they're already into this kind of dream, why don't we provide them imagery that kind of serves that dream and lets them expand and play? Like how you were able to play with an apple, because maybe some people saw a green apple, maybe some people saw a red apple, but that's your impression on that dream, and that's your way to kind of engage and be in that space. It's about creating a bridge to the imagination, and that's what I would love to see. What I tried to do with Folie, with this particular challenge, is I've worked with many artists, so I would send them bottles and I said, well, send me an artwork based on your impression of the fragrance. They would send me artwork, but there's never, out of maybe the 50 or so artworks I received, I've never seen the fragrance in a bottle in an artwork. So, but yet that artwork still somehow conveys this fragrance and still somehow tells the story, and you're somehow able to connect to it, which brings us to the inspiration. So I talked about the articulation, the visualization, now the inspiration of fragrance. For me, perfume is a gallery, for me, perfume is what a gallery is to a curator. For me, perfume is a magazine for a publisher. And our responsibility is to create a space and fill that space with as much meaning as possible, so that when someone enters that space, they leave with value. I hate the word inspiration, because I always feel that inspiration needs to be reasoned. You can take a person to Africa, but why are you taken to Africa? Why? Because you love Africa. You can take a person to Berlin. Why are you taking them to Berlin? What's the reason? And with fragrance, we have the luxury of taking people to places and exploring different aspects of society, culture, places, etc. But I feel it's a responsibility that we have a space, and with that responsibility, we can expand the human experience. And if you're taking someone to Mauritius, take them to Mauritius and to understand the culture, not just because you had a beautiful experience in Mauritius, because this is a powerful medium that we're working with. And once we combined the experience of articulation, visualization, inspiration, we can move fragrance from a commodity of attraction to a tool for artistic, cultural, intellectual, emotional expansion. I always get this question from my peers, from my contemporaries, like, oh, wow, perfume is an art. Perfume is an art by itself. Why do you collaborate with artists? Why do you try to do in this way? And I respond to them that I like the idea that you consider that perfume is an art. And if you consider that perfume is an art, then why is the visual presentation of perfume not on the same level as an art? Why is the marketing and all these different communication elements not on the same level as an art? I've never walked into a gallery and looked at a painting and then there's a list of the pigments of the painting, but we do it in perfumery, list of the ingredients, right? Or you put the bottle, but really and truly what happens is that in the bottle is not the experience. The bottle is not the art. And that's why we use a standard bottle. We use the most basic bottle, and we don't put any branding on it, because that's not the art. It's just an object. But the art is the fragrances in it. And how you tell that story should be an apple with smoke going through it over an ocean, and that's the visualization that should need it. For me, perfume is more of a tool, I feel. I use perfume as a tool, as a way to draw people to different things, so that they can relive those experiences on and on and on and on and on. And the reason why I do this is because when I moved to Berlin to create Folie, and that was the time that I was trying to draw for inspiration. And I visited many galleries, and I collected many books. So what do you do when you go to a gallery? You collect books, you collect postcards, you collect posters, and because you want to relive that experience, you want to hold on to that experience, you want a piece of that experience within your everyday life. But I lost a lot of those books, and I realized that, wow, what if I created a fragrance for the Anish Kapoor exhibition I saw in Berlin, because that moved me. I really would love to connect to those ideas. And we have that power with fragrance. We have a power that can be reinforced every single day, because it integrated in someone's everyday experience. And not only that, they have the space to broaden the texture and the color that's in that little bubble that we create. And I thank you. That's it for today. It's Friday. Drink time.
Gotta go have your Negroni. Thank you, Kayo. That was amazing. What a great exhortation to think beyond.
I hope so. You guys had so many amazing people, had such crazy ideas. I love them. You know.
Yeah, it was definitely a good crowd.
But I guess this is just more of a collective, a calling that if we want people to consider perfume as art, why don't we start really working with it as it is art? You know, we can't use the same methods that we've used in the past to promote a fragrance, to sell it, to the visual representation of a scent.
Yeah. I guess it's the big dirty capitalism that kind of makes it complicated, huh? Yeah. So let me read some of the thoughts that people have shared, because certainly this has touched some people here. So I don't know if you can see the comments, but
you know what? I'm not so digital. Like,
okay, that's cool.
I will non-digital person.
I'll read them for you.
I'm almost afraid to touch the computer right now, you know, because I don't want to mess anything up.
Totally understand. But I'll do it for you. So Lakenda says the rich visuals from the visualization can't be contained in a bottle. It really does need to be a movement-based thing. She says a flip book or a movie in some way. Yeah, Tammy picked on a couple things. You said moving from a commodity of attraction to a tool of expansion and creating a space for imagination and play. Danielle from Cognoscenti says the vision of power and possibilities of the art of scent in all forms is very moving to her. So that's, oh, did we lose Kaya? What happened? Kaya! Oh no. All right, guys. I love that we end on a technical challenge. It's actually perfect.
Next level technology.
It's just how it should be, because you know, why would everything work perfectly? It's boring. All right, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend, everyone.